You think asking her straight up is the right move. You think saying, "When you're ready, just let me know," shows patience, kindness, respect. But here's the raw truth, brother. Every time you ask for intimacy like you're filling out a permission slip, her attraction slips away. Not because you're a bad guy, not because she doesn't like you, but because women don't crave what feels safe and predictable. They crave what feels alive. Female psychology doesn't respond to politeness. It responds to presence. To the kind of man who doesn't wait around, who doesn't stutter when the moment comes, who doesn't treat intimacy like a business deal. And if you don't get this, you'll keep ending up in the same story. She says, "You're such a nice guy," while she sneaks off with the man who didn't ask twice, but simply moved. So in this video, I'm going to break down the psychological trick that flips this entire dynamic. Not a cheesy line, not some fake alpha routine. A shift in how you carry yourself that makes her suggest intimacy before you even open your mouth. Miss this, and you'll stay stuck in that friend zone she never admits to out loud. Now, before we get into it, do me one quick favor. Hit that subscribe button if you're serious about mastering female psychology. Like this video if you've ever felt trapped in that "she likes me, but not like that" zone. And let me know where you're watching from, because I actually read the comments. All right, let's get into the story. Here's the mistake almost every man makes. You think intimacy starts with words. You think it's about asking the right way, saying the right line, softening your tone so she feels comfortable. But women don't respond to words first. They respond to energy, to tension, to the silent charge in the air that makes her heart speed up without knowing why. Picture this. You're sitting next to her. She's close, she's leaning in, there's electricity in the air. Then you break it all with, "So, can I kiss you?" In that second, you've traded fire for approval. You've asked her to lead, and nothing kills her attraction faster. The psychological trick? You don't ask. You let the moment carry you. You read her signals, her body language, the way she holds your gaze, the way she lingers instead of pulling away, and you move with calm certainty. Not rushed, not needy, just present. That's what most men never understand. Women don't want to grant permission. They want to feel pulled into your energy. Because when she feels it in her body, she doesn't need words. She responds. She leans in. She mirrors you. She suggests it first. And here's the key part. You're not being pushy. You're not being forceful. You're simply trusting your presence more than your words. If she's not into it, she'll show you. And a man with grounded energy respects that without collapsing. He doesn't sulk. He doesn't beg. He doesn't question his worth. He keeps his frame. That's what makes the difference. Women don't lose interest because you wanted intimacy. They lose interest because you asked for it like you weren't sure you deserved it. So stop putting intimacy up for negotiation. Stop waiting for her to hand you a green light. Carry yourself in a way where the moment feels inevitable, natural, magnetic. Because when you own your desire without apology, she feels it, and she'll be the one making the move you were too nervous to ask for. That's the psychology. That's the trick. 1. She doesn't want intimacy with weak men. Most men think rejection is about timing. She's not ready. She needs more space. If I wait long enough, she'll come around. But let's cut through the noise. When she says no, most of the time she's not rejecting intimacy itself. She's rejecting you, or more accurately, the energy you're putting out. And this is where it stings, because it's not about your job, your height, or how funny you are. It's about the vibe you bring when you try to get close to her. See, women don't crave safety in the same way men think. Yes, they want to trust you. Yes, they want to feel respected. But desire isn't born in comfort. Desire wakes up when tension enters the room, when she feels something alive in your presence. Comfort earns her friendship. Tension sparks her attraction. Think back to your own experience. You take her out, you pay for dinner, you open doors, you wait patiently. You tell yourself, "I'm doing everything right." But every time you go for more, she pulls back. Let's slow down. Or worse, she ghosts. Then a week later, she's with a guy who barely tried, who didn't follow the polite playbook, but somehow got everything you wanted. Why? Because weakness turns her off. Not weakness in your muscles, weakness in your energy. Weakness in how you hide your desire like it's shameful. Weakness in how you ask for permission as if you don't deserve to be there. Let me make this sharper. A woman's body is wired to respond to clarity. To a man who knows what he wants and carries it with confidence. When you move like a boy begging for approval, "Is this okay? Can I kiss you?" You signal doubt. And doubt is poison to attraction. But when you carry yourself with grounded certainty, you don't need to announce your intentions. She feels it. She senses it before you even touch her. And that's what stirs her desire. Now don't get this twisted. Confidence doesn't mean being pushy. It doesn't mean ignoring her signals or forcing your way through. It means you lead without apology. You move when the moment calls for it. If she's not into it, fine, you respect it, but you don't collapse. That's the difference between a man and a boy. And here's the truth most men can't swallow. She's not rejecting intimacy. She's rejecting a version of you that feels small, the version that hides, hesitates, and asks her to carry the weight of desire. So if you want her to want you, stop waiting for comfort to create attraction. It never will. She doesn't want intimacy with weak men because weakness doesn't activate her instincts. What activates her is presence, clarity, silent confidence. The man who can stand in his desire without fear, that's the man she chooses. And until you become that man, every yes you chase will turn into another not now. 2. Stop asking permission, lead or lose. Here's a harsh truth most men don't like to hear. Every time you ask, "Can I kiss you?" or "Is this okay?" you think you're being respectful. But what she hears is hesitation. What she feels is doubt. And doubt is the fastest way to kill female desire. Let me paint the scene. You're with her. The vibe is good. You're laughing, there's that spark in the air, she's leaning closer. Everything is pointing in one direction. Then, instead of trusting the moment, you interrupt it with a question. "Can I?" Boom. Tension gone. That spark? Snuffed out. Because women don't fantasize about men who move like they're filling out a permission slip. They fantasize about the man who reads the room, trusts himself, and leads. The man who makes her feel swept into the moment without a single word of explanation. Now let's get one thing straight. This is not about being pushy. It's not about ignoring boundaries. It's about leadership. Masculine leadership. The kind of leadership that isn't loud, but steady. The kind that doesn't wait for life to hand him a script. Here's the psychological trick. When you move with confidence, she feels it in her body before her mind has time to catch up. And that's exactly what lights up her desire. Attraction isn't logical, it's reactive. She doesn't sit there making a checklist in her head. She reacts to what your presence communicates. Let's compare. Scenario 1. You lean in, then pause, asking, "Is it okay if I kiss you?" She smiles, maybe says, "Not yet." The moment dies. Scenario 2. Same vibe, same closeness, but this time you hold her eyes, lean in with calm presence, no words, no questions. She feels it, and she meets you halfway. The difference? In one version, you doubted yourself and asked her to take the lead. In the other, you trusted your energy and she followed. Here's why this matters. A woman doesn't want to guide you. She doesn't want to carry the responsibility of making the move. She wants to feel guided by a man who trusts his read of the moment. If you keep checking in like a nervous boy, she loses interest. Not because she's cruel, but because you're forcing her into a role she doesn't want. This is why rejection doesn't crush a grounded man. If she's not ready, he respects it, but he doesn't fall apart. He doesn't spiral into, "What did I do wrong?" He moves forward with clarity. That's what keeps his presence attractive. So stop asking permission like you need her stamp of approval. Lead with calm, steady confidence. Move when the moment calls. Respect her if she pulls back, but don't hand her the weight of guiding the intimacy. Because if you won't lead, she'll find a man who will. Lead or lose. That's the choice. 3. Female desire is silent, not logical. You followed every rule. You gave her space. You listened. You waited. You told yourself, she just needs time. And then what happens? The next week, she's with someone else. Sound familiar? Here's the part that drives men crazy. She said she wasn't ready. She told you to wait. She gave all the signs of caution. But then she jumped into bed with another man who didn't tick half the boxes you do. That's the piece men don't understand. Female desire is not logical. It's silent. See, when a woman tells you, I need a good man, stable, attentive, patient, she's speaking with her head. But her body? Her desire? It's not chasing stability. It's chasing energy, tension, that deep instinct she can't explain, but can't resist either. That's why you see women ignoring the guy who treats her like a queen, then chasing the one who barely says a word. It doesn't make sense on paper, but it makes sense in biology. Because desire doesn't live in logic, it lives in sensation. Think about it. When she tells you, you're such a great guy, I'm just not ready, she might believe it. But the truth is simpler. She's not ready for you. Because you didn't stir anything inside her. You gave her comfort, not tension. And comfort earns trust, but not intimacy. And this is where most men keep failing. They think attraction is about doing the right things, ticking boxes, waiting patiently for a reward. But she doesn't reward logic. She responds to magnetism. The secret? Stop listening to every word like it's gospel. Start watching how she reacts. Does she lean in when you get quiet? Does her body tense when you hold eye contact? Does she fidget, smile, or blush when you stand close? That's desire speaking, not the polite sentences she feeds you. The mistake is chasing her words instead of her energy. You hear "not now" and take it as a roadmap. But the truth is, she might be saying no with words while her body is saying something else entirely. Don't misunderstand. Respect is always the bottom line. But respect doesn't mean killing tension. It means you read the signals, you move with grounded clarity, and if she pulls away, you don't collapse. That balance is what flips the script. Because when you stop looking for logical answers and start embodying presence, you step into magnetism. She can't explain why, but suddenly she feels pulled toward you. She thinks about you when you're not around. She questions why her body reacts before her mind does. That's the psychology. Female desire doesn't make sense. It doesn't need to. It just needs to be awakened. 4. Your masculine energy speaks louder than words. Men think attraction comes from saying the right thing, from having smooth lines, from finding the perfect moment to talk. But here's the truth most guys never hear. She already felt you before you spoke. Your words? They're just decoration. Your energy? That's the real message. Imagine this. You tell her, I'm confident, but your eyes dart away the second she looks at you. You tell her, I'm relaxed, but your shoulders are stiff. You tell her, I'm different, but every move screams, please like me. She doesn't believe what you say. She feels what you radiate. Female psychology is wired to pick up signals beneath the surface. She might not explain it, but she feels it. Your posture, your breath, the way you carry silence. That's what speaks louder than any sentence. Here's the problem. Most modern men bury their masculine energy. They've been told it's dangerous, unwanted, maybe even toxic. So they hide it. They try to replace presence with politeness, fire with patience. And then they wonder why she says, I feel safe with you, but never feels turned on. She's not rejecting your desire. She's rejecting your fear of it. Because here's what women really want: A man who feels desire without being controlled by it. A man who can want her but not need her. Who can stand in his fire without burning himself down. That's rare, and it's magnetic. Masculine energy is not about aggression. It's not about dominance. It's about mastery. Mastery over yourself. The ability to radiate presence without saying a word. The ability to hold tension without apologizing for it. So how do you show this? Simple. Stop hiding behind chatter. Let silence do the work. Hold her gaze without flinching. Speak slower. Stand grounded like you've got nothing to prove. Because when you carry yourself like that, she feels it before you even touch her. You don't need to announce your intentions. She already knows. She can feel it in the air. And that's exactly what awakens her desire. Your masculine energy is your power source, not a problem, not something to be ashamed of. But if you keep burying it under fear and politeness, she'll never feel that spark. Own it, direct it, let it charge the room, because in the end, your body screams louder than your mouth ever could. 5. The man who doesn't react excites her. Here's where most men slip. They think showing every emotion makes them real and attractive. But here's the truth. What excites her is not your emotional chaos. It's your emotional control. Let's play this out. She doesn't text back for a day. You panic. She posts a picture with another guy. You spiral. She pulls away and acts cold. You chase harder, trying to fix it. You think you're being attentive, proving your interest. But from her side, you've just shown her you orbit around her moods. And that kills attraction. Women test men, whether they know it or not. Not to be cruel, not to play games, but to feel if you're really grounded. To see if you're stable, or if you break the second things don't go your way. And every time you react, jealous, needy, angry, you fail the test. You show weakness, not strength. But the man who stays calm, the man who doesn't flinch, that's the one who excites her. Because now she feels your depth. She sees that you're not easily shaken. She can't predict how you'll respond, and that mystery pulls her in. Think about it. The less you react, the more she does. When you don't chase her approval, when you don't crumble over mixed signals, when you keep building your life with or without her, she starts noticing. She starts questioning. She starts feeling tension she can't explain. Because women aren't turned on by men who collapse. They're turned on by men who stay rooted no matter what storm she throws. So, if you're the guy who breaks down over an unread message, understand this. You're not exciting her. You're exhausting her. But if you're the guy who stays centered, who moves only when it feels right, who doesn't let her moods define his worth, that's the man she can't stop thinking about. Calm is rare. Stillness is powerful. The man who doesn't react is the man she secretly wants. 6. Make her suggest it. First, here's the trick that flips the whole game. If you have to ask her for intimacy, you've already lost. Because the second you ask, it turns into negotiation. And nothing kills desire faster than making her feel like she's doing you a favor. So how do you change this? By setting the stage so she brings it up before you do. This isn't about sitting back passively. It's about owning your presence so strongly that intimacy feels inevitable. You're not asking for it. You're radiating it. You're building tension with eye contact, with touch, with silence. You're carrying the energy that says, I want you, but I don't need you. When you do this right, she feels pulled toward you. She starts leaning in. She starts suggesting things without realizing it. She says, do you want to come over? Or, you should stay. That's her way of signaling desire. Not because you begged, not because you asked, but because you created the space where she felt it naturally. That's the psychological trick most men miss. Desire can't be forced, but it can be awakened. And the best way to awaken it is to embody the energy she can't resist. Stop negotiating. Stop asking. Build the kind of presence that makes her want to suggest it first. Because when she does, you've already won. So here's the truth, brother. Intimacy with a woman isn't about the right line, the perfect timing, or waiting around until she hands you permission. It's about the energy you carry, the silent confidence that says, I want you, but I don't need you. When you stop asking and start leading. When you stop chasing words and start reading desire. When you trust your presence more than your mouth, that's when everything changes. She doesn't just give in. She leans in. She suggests it. She craves it. But if you keep moving like a boy begging for a yes, you'll stay stuck in that endless friend zone loop. Don't let that be you. Now, if this video hit home for you, do me a quick favor. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I read every single one, and it reminds me just how many men are waking up to this truth. Remember this. She doesn't fall for the man who waits. She falls for the man who moves with presence. Be that man.